Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, and death, and mourning, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, by strong, saith Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua.
Our kids dream big and they have a lot of skills, but they are being neglected. It's a vicious cycle breeding, and instead of Baltimore growing, it's like our city is constantly bleeding.
It's fighting to find its soul as it loses souls to a cycle of crime and violence. You are being born in one of America's most dangerous cities. Some are doomed before they have a chance to live. Amani Grossman is one of those stories. With PTSD. Amani followed one of his 3 arrests by the age of 17. The cases involved an armed robbery, a carjacking, and a sex offense. Prosecutors dropped the charges in all but one case. Amani pleaded guilty to the sex offense. Latresa moved out of the city and into the county in the hopes of providing a safer life for her family.
He didn't like it out here. He said it was nothing to do. He was bored.
By 2016, Amani was back in Baltimore with the same childhood friend charged in that sex offense case. This video shows them together on September 14th. Seconds later, shots rang out. Amani's childhood friend stood by and watched as he was murdered. Died after being shot inside a car in southwest Baltimore.
Enough is enough. And the reason why I say that is because we're losing too many our kids out here.
Corruption runs deep in Baltimore. It's the years of corruption in the police department that fueled mistrust with the community. The notorious Flex Squad was disbanded in 2006 after accusations of rape, drug possession, and illegal gambling.
Hey, come downstairs right quick. They're about to get it open.
The city's elite gun trace task force was once held up as a model of a way to get guns off the streets. In reality, they were a group of criminals with badges who spent a good part of their careers framing people for crimes they didn't commit.
Oh,
Minutes before shooting this video, the officers had already cracked the safe and stolen at least $100,000 out of it.
check here.
This Baltimore City police officer was caught on his own body-worn camera in an alley, appearing to place drugs in a can. He then appears to toss it down and bury it under debris.
Can you reach in there?
Officer Richard Pinheiro is not alone. Pinheiro's body-worn camera records 2 other officers just feet away, standing by, watching.
Yo.
In that moment, it appears all 3 officers have forgotten how their cameras function, and the fact that their body-worn cameras roll back 30 seconds when activated. Take a look at this Baltimore police officer body camera video. A broken brake light, a routine traffic stop, and a routine all too familiar to an officer.
How much weed do you have, man? Is this it? All right, dude. What is this like?
Is roughly 28 grams, which is double what Maryland law allows most people to carry without being charged criminally. Baltimore City State's Attorney, Marilyn Mosby.
There is no public safety value in prosecuting marijuana possession.
But as this traffic stop progressed, the officer found even more marijuana in the car, several pounds in the car.
Tom, it never ends. Never ends, man. Got more? This guy said, yeah, I got a little bit of weed.
In the trunk, mason jars and plastic bags.
Oh, jeez.
But we searched the state's electronic court records and found the case didn't exist. Weave's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, said her office would use to determine whether to file drug charges. But we searched the state's electronic court records and found the case didn't exist. We've since been told the city state's attorney's office dropped the charges. The city state's attorney's office would not do an on-camera interview. A spokesperson told us by email in 2019, After a thorough review of the facts, our prosecutors determined that this case did not extend beyond mere possession, and consistent with our office policy not to prosecute mere possession of marijuana, we elected to release the defendant without charges.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Ruach HaQuadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Also, sincere shalom to other followers of this truth, whoever you may be, and let me say shalom to the elect. Anyway, I ran across this video on another channel that I have, so I get different links. And this video is titled, this is actually a documentary called Baltimore is Dying, right? If it's not already dead. But this is representing the great city of Babylon, because ultimately all cities have this type of mentality going on. All your bigger inner cities anyway have this type of mentality going on as well. Now, I've watched the documentary. As once you understand the program and the setup, you will see that all this is pretty much set, right? The one person was in there talking about there's more guns than education or whatever, which I've always said there's more guns on the street than there is jobs. Well, why is that? Okay, so you have to know a lot of this is set up. In one person on there said, well, they know through by the time when they were young and in school that they know how much to build, how many jails to build, and who's pretty much going to make it and who isn't. So a lot of you jakes don't understand you under a controlled program as it is, right? Which Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh ultimately set all that up, right? So then they went into the crooked cops, and as a testimony of myself, I've been a victim of quite a few of those crooked cops when I was in the world, in the streets a little bit. And this is nothing new, right? I remember back in the early 90s, I've seen that. I watched out my window them set somebody up. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I saw them set someone up. I never knew the person, but they did the same thing to me as well. Not for drug distribution, but similar things, criminal things, right? And they will set you up. It's all a game. They'll tell you this is a cat and mouse game. It's all a game to them. And the cops are really no different than the criminals. They just have the law on their side, right? So they're upholding the law on the left-hand side, doing kind of helping fund what the criminals do on the left-hand side. So it's a rotating process. So they put the drugs back out there. The guns are confiscated that's killing people. They burn the serial numbers, put the guns back out there with the help of other private organizations, putting the guns back out there, putting the drugs back out there. Now, these drugs come all the way from South America and various other places of the world. But somehow they wind up in the inner city of the community. And then you put the rap, the rap music, the messages, and you spin that, and you're cooking up a good recipe, right? But this is basically all of Babylon. Now these elites, they'll tell you that we're liquidating, right? Jeremiah 51:9. They know, but they don't understand that there's something coming for them. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Right? So this whole setup, this whole program is going into that lake. So now it's also kind of ironic that they've managed, and this is crazy because they've managed to take things that are actually illegal and through the money and philosophies legitimize it and say, okay, it's okay. They've even passed laws here that's supposedly so-called illegal, of prostitution laws, legal now. Marijuana, legal now. Them opioids, them drugs that they're pushing in our communities heavy, legal, along with a doctor prescription. But you know how these CDS-controlled dangerous substances get to our neighborhoods, right? And get to the people. We know this. We can also go, I didn't even have this set up. We can also go back into Exodus of what happened with the Pharaoh. Let me go back here. I haven't read the story. I believe it's Exodus, the first chapter. Let me go to Exodus 1 and 8. It says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto the people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it came to pass that when they fall out of any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, right? And so get them up and out of the land. So we can see this today where our people, they set this rap music up, you know, really the gang violence. The rap is just one thing that aids in the gang violence, but it couldn't just be that. But you know, you set up the gangs, the violence, and let us fight each other, right? It says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, right? Oh, here it goes. It says, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasures of cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. It goes on to say, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with vigor, and they made their lives bitter and hard bondage, right? Made them work. But when you go on to the story, you know, because I'm not going to read the whole story, when you go on to through the story, how that didn't work. So he ordered all the male children to be killed. Sounds familiar? Sounds like we see in the inner city. These young men dying at the hands of one another. They just found a new way to do it, right? You set up the gangs, you bring in the drugs, you bring in the guns. That is a recipe for disaster. And you turn them against one another, right? You could go into the store and buy bullets if you want. If you don't want to buy them, we can deliver them. How do they get all these bullets? How do they get all these guns? It's easy to see what's happening here, right? Nahum 3:1, woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of the whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and the prances of horses and of the jumping chariots. It says, verse 4, behold, of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of the witchcrafts, right, with the drugs, the drug dealing. And our people, they love to do wicked. We come in here with that truth, especially in Baltimore. They walk right by us. They smoking the weed, you know. I'm talking about that raunchy, hardcore stuff, whatever that is. Right? They on their drugs, and they pants that's hanging down off them, and they're just doing their thing. Those are all witchcrafts. And it says that selling nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Right? Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts. Now you got our people scattered in other countries having that same manner of behavior, okay? Because of the multitude of the, let me go on and say verse 5. It says, behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew these nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. Right? This goes back to Isaiah 47:1. It says, Babylon, thy nakedness shall be seen. She is no longer tender and delicate. Just quoting. It says, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and will make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. Right? So, the Most High is going to pronounce judgment. The Most High is going to pronounce judgment, and everybody's looking at Babylon and saying, damn, even though he's using his elites to do it, right? And they believe they're in control of the whole matter, but they're not really in full control of it. They think they are. This is what you call a liquidation. The Most High is liquidating Babylon, and he's using the elites to do it. They know what they're doing. They even have the plans. That's why they have the bunkers and everything, man. They know what's up. But what they don't know is what's going to happen eventually when it comes on them. It says liquidate means to reduce to order, to set clearly, right? To melt, to make liquid. Well, actually, when them missiles hit, right? That's melting. It says in law depths, it says of depths, debts, to melt, to liquidate, originally as a legal term or reference to assets of companies going out of business, inconvenient groups of persons, to wiping out. So what you see is a liquidation. They can't keep up with the jails. They don't have the funds. And you notice it's all Jake and Eve there, man. Now they all going to catch the hell and the blame for the cleanup. You know, this man set his people up. They done ran out already. You know who's left? Jake. And Jake is not going to do a good job. Jake don't know how to manage and handle taxes and money and finances. So all they doing is liquidating, man. Soon, I think even right now they're not even holding people in prison unless they're extremely hardcore charges. You see these people go to jail, they come right back out the next week. They don't stay in there long. They're making more money. These elites making more money with these guys on the street than they are in jail. They have managed to take the so-called moral thing of Babylon and make it immoral. And they've taken an immoral thing and made it moral. And this is what they've managed to do with the scriptures. So now it's okay to have pounds and pounds of weed and ride around a car. I'm talking about to their moral standards. It's okay. You can do that. They have managed to make everything that looks illegal with the money and financing and make it legal. You can marry your animal now. You know, they'll make that legal. Anything that goes against the grain, they'll say it's because you should have the right to do what you want to do. Just don't break our laws. This is crazy. This brings me to Revelation 18 and 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her, and they shall see the smoke of her burning. This is all part of the liquidation, man. Liquidizing, right? Standing afar off to the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, the mighty city, for 1 hour is his judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. Right? And you can read the whole thing, because ultimately we're going to rejoice, you know, when this is all done away with. So this is a thing that must happen. This particular thing happens in all cities, by the way. You'll see the decline and the liquidation of most cities come down to this, where the moral fabrics of society has deteriorated. So they have that no more. So it's okay. Even now, they're defunding the police. It's okay to have prostitution. It's okay for the women to prostitute now. That's the Lord bringing everything to an end, man. But remember, some years back, it was illegal. It wasn't the right thing to do. It was immoral. Couldn't smoke a blunt. Couldn't smoke any weed. Now they've managed to take that and say, we found out that this is less violent. Prostitute, she's not going to cause any issues. She's just trying to make her money, and the John is trying to do what he needs to do. This is what they're saying now, man. Next, everybody will be allowed to carry guns. And they'll say everybody has a right to defend themselves. Look, if the prisoners can walk around with guns, so should everybody else. I'm pretty sure we'll see that coming up next. Anyway, that's all I have on